The clink of coins against a wooden table cut through the soft hum of the restaurant like a crack in glass, sharp enough to turn a few heads, quiet enough to be missed by most. Under warm yellow lights, a tired young mother leaned forward, counting change with shaking fingers while her two small children sat silently beside an almost empty plate. Across the room, a man who owned more buildings than the city skyline itself froze mid-bite, his eyes locked on a moment that would reach places money never had before. Before the story goes any further, pause for just a second. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. The billionaire had come to the restaurant to escape numbers. All day he had been surrounded by figures that grew and multiplied effortlessly, profits stacking higher than any memory of struggle. Dinner with his young son was supposed to be simple, a rare island of calm in a life ruled by boardrooms and private flights. His son sat across from him, small hands wrapped around a glass of water, eyes curious and observant in the way children are when they are still learning how the world works. That was when the boy noticed the family at the next table, the mother carefully tearing bread into smaller and smaller pieces, making one plate stretch into something that could quiet 3 stomachs. The mother's face told a story before her hands ever could. There was exhaustion carved into her posture, the kind that sleep does not fix. Her clothes were clean but worn thin, washed too many times, holding on to dignity by a thread of effort. She smiled softly at her children, nodding encouragingly as they took turns with the food, but when she looked down at the coins, the smile faded into something heavier. This was not her first time counting change in public, and the shame of it had not grown lighter with practice. The billionaire tried to look away. He had trained himself for years to separate emotion from observation, to treat the world as a system rather than a story. Yet something refused to let him turn back to his plate. Perhaps it was the way the children ate slowly, carefully, as if they already understood scarcity. Or perhaps it was the sudden weight in his chest, an old memory stirring from a place he rarely visited. He remembered a different restaurant decades earlier, a different table. His own mother once dividing a meal with the same careful precision, pretending she wasn't hungry so he could be. His son noticed his silence and followed his gaze. The child's face changed, confusion softening into concern. He leaned forward slightly, eyes fixed on the other table, absorbing a lesson no textbook could ever teach. The billionaire felt something crack open inside him then, a realization that wealth had insulated him from scenes like this, but not from their meaning. He understood in that moment that success had not erased his past. It had only buried it under layers of comfort. The mother gathered the coins at last, her movements slow, resigned. She signaled to the waiter with a polite nod, bracing herself for the familiar embarrassment of explaining that this was all she had. Around them, plates scraped, laughter floated, and life went on uninterrupted. No one else seemed to notice that a family was quietly balancing on the edge between hunger and pride. The billionaire stood. The simple act sent a ripple of attention through the room, though most didn't recognize him for who he was. To them, he was just another well-dressed man stepping away from his table. But inside him, something monumental was shifting. He wasn't thinking about headlines or gratitude or being seen. He was thinking about that little boy he used to be, and the mother who taught him strength through sacrifice. What he did next was not loud or dramatic, yet it carried the force of a storm. He spoke with the staff, then returned to his seat briefly, placing a gentle hand on his son's shoulder. The boy looked up, eyes wide, sensing that something important was happening. Moments later, the atmosphere around the struggling family changed. Plates arrived, full and steaming, not just food, but relief made visible. The mother looked up in confusion, then disbelief, her hands hovering over the table as if afraid the moment would vanish if she touched it. Tears came quickly, uninvited, as reality settled in. This was not charity thrown carelessly, it was dignity restored. The children's faces lit up, joy replacing restraint, and for the first time that evening, the mother allowed herself to breathe. Around them, other diners grew quiet, witnessing something rare in a world often too busy to care. The billionaire watched from a distance, heart pounding harder than it ever had during any deal he'd closed. He felt lighter, as though giving had returned something he didn't know he'd lost. His son leaned against him, understanding now that power was not about having more, but about helping when it mattered most. That lesson, he knew, was worth more than any inheritance. As the family ate, the room slowly returned to its normal rhythm, but something had changed, not just for the mother and her children, but for everyone who had seen the moment unfold. Kindness had slipped quietly into the space, reminding them all of their shared humanity. If this story is touching your heart right now, please take a moment to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread these reminders of hope and compassion to people who may need them more than we realize. Just before the night ended, the mother gathered her children and paused, looking around as if trying to find the source of the miracle she'd been given. Her eyes met the billionaire's for a brief second, and in that silent exchange was gratitude deeper than words. No names were needed, no explanations were required. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and share what kindness means to you, or a moment when someone's compassion changed your life. The billionaire and his son left the restaurant hand in hand, the city lights reflecting off the glass behind them. Wealth still waited for him tomorrow, along with meetings and numbers and responsibilities. But that night, he carried something far richer home with him. The knowledge that a single act of kindness could feed more than hunger. It could heal memories, teach children, and quietly remind the world that humanity still matters.